Hi everyone and welcome back to Taslima Maya Art and Wet and Wild Wednesdays, hosted by the lovely CWV Artistry. In today's video we'll be painting this peaceful seaside scene, complete with charming sailboat, distant mountains, a small house on a cliff and lots of relaxing ocean blues. This tutorial is perfect for beginners and beyond, and I'll walk you through every step. A big thank you to all my Patreon members and subscribers for supporting this channel. So I started with a simple sketch of my scene on 240 GSM textured watercolour paper. For today's painting I'm going to be using my professional Daniel Smith watercolours, and I have them in a palette such as this, and 3 different paintbrushes from Crawford and Black, the size 10, the size 8 and the size 6. I'll also be using my Meaden porcelain palette for mixing and some clean fresh water. So I begin with spraying my palette with some water just to moisten the colours up and make it easier to mix up. And I'll start with the most vibrant colour I'm going to be using in this scene, and that's the Pier red from Daniel Smith, and I'll mix that in with a little bit of water in my palette. And I want my sailing boat to be super noticeable, and I like to choose my colour palette looking at the swatch cards I made recently, and this is the Pier red here. That's the colour I'm going to go for. And swatching is a really useful way of helping you choose colours for a scene later on, so you can see what it looks like on a particular paper if you swatch the colours. And you can see that video on my channel if you wish to. And I'm going straight in there now with my Pier red and laying it down. I haven't watered it down too much because, as I said, I want a vibrant colour. And I'm going to be very careful. I'm using my number 6 brush just to get around those letters and paint very close to the lines but not go over them. And you do need a relatively steady hand sometimes with this, but watercolour is pretty forgiving in my opinion. I can usually just, if I make a mistake, add a lot of water very quickly and use tissue to lift off a lot of the colour. So in terms of the scene I'm painting, it includes a small boat that's moored to the shore, a pier, calm sea, a cliff top house and some gentle greenery. So we're going to start with the foreground. As you can see, I love to start with the foreground for some reason. For the boat I'm using bright red, Pier red as I said, blue and cream tones to give it life, and I'll add some subtle shadows later on and reflections. Watercolour is a very therapeutic art form and it really helps relax me, so I love doing it in the evenings, hence all the shadows on the paper, so I do apologise for that. But I do hope you enjoy this video. If you're new here, do consider pressing the subscribe button and hit the notification bell for all, otherwise you may never see any more of my videos again coming up on your feed. And if you're a die-hard fan, thank you for being here again. I always appreciate my fans and people who watch my videos on a regular basis. You really help keep this channel going. So this video is part of the Wet and Wild Wednesdays collaboration hosted by Casey from CWV Artistry, and there is a playlist so you can watch all the other amazing artists if you check out the playlist down in my description box below. If you're a beginner with watercolour painting, I'm going to give you 7 amazing tips to paint seaside scenes in watercolours within this video. So let's start with number 1. Always start with a very light sketch. Keep your pencil lines light and minimal, just enough to place key elements in like the boat, the cliff and the pier, and avoid pressing too hard as heavy lines can show through your washes. Having said that, there are different styles to watercolour painting, and this one uses a waterproof pen, so you can use waterproof pens as well, ink pens, so that you can see the lines and they are something that stand out as part of the painting. So it just depends on what look you're going after. Now I've put my first layer down. I'll build up on this gradually later on, and I'm going to move on to the next colour now. I say colour but I mean colours because I'm using cerulean blue, lavender and ultramarine turquoise, and I'll be layering them up on the lower part of the boat. And that leads me to tip number 2 for beginners at watercolour. Make sure you layer your colours from light to dark and build depth gradually. Let each layer dry before moving forward to avoid muddying colours, or if you want to, you can also put wet colours into wet and watch them disperse for a cool effect. Learning about colour theory really helps, because if you've got two colours that you're mixing together that are opposite on a colour wheel, they're likely to turn to brown or a muddy colour. So that's something you definitely want to avoid. Tip number 3 is to stick to 5 or 6 main colours if you're a beginner, because this ensures harmony and makes mixing much easier. Let me play some relaxing music for you until we get to the next step. For the third portion of the boat, I'll be using this lovely portrait pink and cream. Then I layer on top with burnt sienna.
You and me stuck on the ocean now, nothing but waves and this filling in. I wanna dry up but you just keep on going, don't you? I don't even know how we got here, all my reasoning have disappeared. I wanna bury the hatchet and find the way back to our home, our home, our home. We don't have to drift inside this dome. I will not let us fade away. It's not a price I wanna pay, and it's not too late. No, we lost our purpose, chasing all that surplus. You were all that I need. I feel that we can break free. We can still go back there to a place with no cares. We can turn this ship around. We can turn this ship around all the way back home. All that we do not care, chasing all that we don't have, chasing all that we do not care, we do not, all the way back home. Chasing all that we do not care, chasing all that we don't have, chasing all that we do not care, we do not. Yesterday we could be ourselves, didn't have much but nevertheless we were true to each other, but now we don't even bother. I remember you being hopeful, but the tall waves have worn us down, and slowly we are drowning. That's why you need to come with me, with me, with me. Turn around 180 degrees and cross the sea. I will not let us fade away. It's not a price I wanna pay, and it's not too late. No, we lost our purpose, chasing all that surplus. You were all that I need. I feel that we can break free. We can still go back there to a place with no always knew we could do so many great things. So believe in me, I believe in you, and I just feel that this will be an upswing. So hear me.
So for the next step, I'm going to be doing the sky. I'm using the larger brush, the number 10, and just washing the sky in first with water and making sure I put enough water on. All I'm doing is putting water down now, making it wet.
Wow.
Okay?
Are you talking?
No, I'm not talking. I'm just talking to you.
No, are you talking on the video?
No, I'm not talking on this video at all. I'm just going to paint on this video, nothing else.
Can I help you?
In a minute, baby. First I've got to get the paper wet.
Can you say yeah, you always will do, yeah?
Oh, of course I'll say my little girl's thing. My little girl's my favourite person in the whole world.
Oh, what? Are you now?
In a minute, baby. I want to check something first.
When I do,
I'll tell you when I'm ready for you.
okay.
Don't do anything yet. We need lots of water on this page. If I don't have enough water, the blue won't move. We need a darker blue.
The morning chaos. Here goes. Kids up, clothes on. Toast cut into triangles. Bagels beneath. Clover on.
Bagels, you love bagels.
Yeah.
So as you've just heard a little bit behind the scenes, I'm usually surrounded by my children when I'm painting or doing anything. My 4-year-old is nagging me constantly to have a go at this painting, so I do let her have a go. And she does a great job. But there's a reason for this voiceover.
Now I do it.
No, baby.
I want to take it off too.
You want to do what?
Take
Take what?
it off.
Alright, yeah, you don't need to wear the glove. Oh, yeah, you can't do it until I say. Okay, it's
Which
gonna,
colour?
it'll be turquoise you have to do.
Okay.
Right, let me just get you some. Oh no, there's yellow on it. Get some water on it. Lots of water. Watercolours have got to have a lot of water. A lot of water, okay? There. Here you go. My little daughter's going to have a go now. My little 4-year-old's gonna have a go. So she's just I'm gonna help you. Get some more turquoise. And just do it across where the wet is. That's it, love. That's it. We don't want it to be sure. That's perfect. Well done. Now for the sky, I do wash my colours down quite a lot because I want it to be very subtle, and I'm adding a little bit of yellow and orange in the horizon there because I want it to seem like dusk or sunset, and I'm just putting down my colours very, very gently, very lightly with a lot of water mixed in so I can blend it with further water on my brush. Now already something about this scene is really reaching out to me, the idea of a peaceful seaside painting where you can relax and the bliss of the sea and the waves lapping upon the sand and a serene boat and a clifftop view. It's just something about it that I really, really love. And I remember all the coastal walks I used to go on, both where I reside and abroad, and I just love the seaside. There's just something about the ocean that just soothes the soul. So time for tip number 4. Tip number 4 is to use wet and wet for the sky and the sea. So to get soft natural blends in the sky and sea, apply clean water first, then drop in your colours. Tilt the paper slightly to guide flow and simulate a peaceful flowing atmosphere. I choose not to tilt the paper, but I have done so in other paintings. And now I'm laying down some colours, wet and wet, and watching them disperse for the wall that's along the pier, the walkway, and it's really easy to do this to give it some textured look. And this creates a lovely effect with minimal effort for beginners. And that's my burnt sienna, adding some shadows and depth to the wall there. For the sea, I'm layering a number of different colours, blue and turquoise, and also lifting colour where needed to create any reflections and highlights. You can also leave parts of your paper white or use a masking fluid to make sure that there are some white reflections. And remember, when your paper is wet, it's much easier to blend your colours together than if you're just going straight in with dry paper there. And now for tip number 5. Well, tip number 5 is to use larger brushes for washes such as the sky and the sea, and smaller ones for details such as the boat, the house and the pier. Switching sizes at the right moment helps control precision and fluidity. I'm really enjoying painting the background. I'll move on to the distant mountains in a moment using cooler blue-grey mixes. But I am going to do some more of the foreground here underneath the boat. So I'm laying down very light washes and then building up layer by layer very gradually into darker tones and textures. I also use dry brushing technique and the lifting technique, but you'll see me doing the dry brushing technique in a moment on the ground there, and it gives it a lovely effect. I decided to keep the house colours very light in contrast and just keep it very simplistic with a darker roof. I then move on to the greenery around the house, and I'm going to develop some texture by adjusting values for contrast and adding fine details with darker colours on top of lighter ones. And you can use different size brushes and different brush strokes to create some depth and texture. On to tip number 6 for beginners. Once dry, layer darker tones in the mountains or greenery to create shadows, contrast and form. Use dry brushing or lifting techniques for texture in cliffs and foliage. And the final tip for beginners in watercolour. Take it easy. You're not going to master this skill overnight, and you're allowed to make mistakes and you're allowed to be unhappy what you produce at the beginning. But with every painting you will improve and you will learn a lot along the way. So give yourself some grace and just enjoy the journey. As you notice, I used a smaller brush to detail the clifftop house in soft neutrals, and I added the pier stretching into the water and painted that in lighter colours and with some burnt sienna to give it some texture. And here's the finished painting. Well, I say finished, but I'm not entirely sure it is. I might add a lot more detail to it afterwards. But I am loving how it's looking so far. It's peaceful, vibrant and full of story. What do you think? Let me know in the comments if you have tried this, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more art videos. I'm just going to do a couple of flyovers so you can see it. It's a little dark in the art studio here, so it's not in its best glory, but I'll try and show you as best as I can how it looks. And I can imagine that framed and up on a wall and signed on the corner as well. It's just so serene. I love it. And I hope you do too. And if you're still watching and enjoyed these 7 tips for painting a seaside scene in watercolours, please do give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment for me so I know you found value in this, and so I can create more videos that help others. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. And don't forget to check out all the other artists on the playlist for Wet and Wild Wednesdays. And if you weren't aware, I host a collaboration called the Creative Art Collective every Saturday at 6 PM UK and 1 PM EST with some wonderful artists alongside me, so do join us in a live chat if you're able. Bye for now.